The motion to exclude the recommendations and the resolution was unanimous. That's how it should read. Yes.
Either unanimous or
No, that is if you come to the next page. You see
unanimously
that.
Any more on page 5? 5? No? Okay, thank you. Page 6? Yes, Lord Fladu.
Page 6, the last line. Assembly to be adequately briefed for an informed decision.
Yes, thank you. Any more?
I move the motion. Can I say what I...
Sorry, somebody is, I cannot see the person.
Here, please.
Yes.
The one that the honorable member was talking about, this is how I put it. That the assembly with a comprehensive assessment of the 45 days period of the state of public emergency to enable the assembly to make a decision based on palpable data.
It's been captured. Thank you. Page 6? Any more on 6? No? Okay. Page 7?
If you can...
Somebody has anything on page 6?
No, page 7. Page 7, Honorable Speaker, question put and agreed to. The same correction should be in line with that one. Thank you.
Any more on page 7? No? Okay. Thank you. Page 8? Yes, Honorable.
Yeah. On page 8, number 20, Honorable Alhaj H. Shaw, instead of Alhaj Shaw. The initial is H is not included.
Any more on 8? Page 8? Page 9? Yes, Willie? Willie is?
When you, after the votes, the motion fell instead of fall. It's in the past.
Honorable Member for Basse.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The honorable member for Basse seconded the motion. I can't remember, and I don't think it's me who seconded the motion. Standing Order 11-1, the honorable member for Serekunda West moved that the assembly sits beyond the 6 p.m. The honorable member for Basse seconded the motion. I can't remember, and I don't think I have seconded this motion.
With the Hansard records and rectifying. Thank you. Thank you. Any more corrections, observations? No? I take it then that we are all satisfied with the records. Yes, Nyamina East.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, just to go back, if you go back to page 1, I was wondering, if you look at the leveling, where we have the following National Assembly members were present, if you look at the leveling names and constituency, I think if you look at it, Speaker, Deputy Speaker, you don't term those as constituency. We are identifying based on the tax that we are having here, the tax I mean. So I think it will be better, in my opinion, to use tax, because the tax that you have before you there is written Speaker, and that is not your constituency. and the Deputy Speaker as well. So I think generalization by using this will not serve the purpose of your title here. Thank you.
Any more? Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that the record of votes and proceedings of the National Assembly sitting of Saturday, the 16th of May, 2020, be approved with amendments. Those in favor, please say aye. Those not in favor, please say no. So the ayes have it. Clerk, can we proceed with the next item?
Can I observe before proceeding, Madam Speaker? Can I do an observation?
An observation.
Yes. Madam Speaker, thank you. This is the record of votes and proceeding of the National Assembly sitting of Saturday, 16 May 2020. We sat also on Monday, even though we don't do anything, but the sitting happened. We sat and we adjourned. So it is important that we have the records of votes of Monday, even if nothing is done, for record purpose.
Thank you. I know we did not proceed, so I've discussed it with the table office and the office of the clerk, and of course it will be captured. Thank you. I observe that myself. Thank you.
Report of the Public Appointment Standing Committee on the confirmation of appointment of Mr. Bakari Sajang as Ombudsman in accordance with Section 164(1) of the 1997 Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia.
Thank you very much. Honorable members will recall that the motion for the confirmation
by the Honorable Keba Kebaro, member of the committee.
That the motion for the confirmation of the appointment of Mr. Bakari Sanyang as Ombudsman was tabled by Her Excellency the Vice President on Monday, the 6th of April, 2020. This second nomination was made by His Excellency the President after the rejection of the earlier nominee in December 2019 by the National Assembly. Section 1641 of the 1997 Constitution limits the National Assembly from rejecting the second nominee for Ombudsman, subject to full compliance to the provisions of the Constitution. However, when the motion was tabled, Her Excellency the Vice President informed the Assembly that Mr. Sanyang was still at the time serving in public office as Governor of the West Coast region. Section 164(4) of the Constitution, that is the 1997 Constitution, provides that a person shall not be qualified to hold office as Ombudsman or Deputy Ombudsman if he or she is a member of the National Assembly, a minister, or holds any other public office, and the emphasis is mine. This provision disqualified Mr. Sanyang at the time. Based on this statement of the Vice President, Her Excellency, confirming that Mr. Sanyang was serving in public office, the matter was then referred to the Public Appointments Standing Committee for scrutiny and advise the plenary appropriately. I will now invite the Honorable Member for Combo South and member of the said committee, that is the Public Appointments Committee, to table the report of the committee. Thank you. Honorable. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Report of the Public Appointments Committee, Standing Committee on the confirmation of appointment of Mr. Bakari Sanyang as Ombudsman in accordance with Section 1641 of the 1997 Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia. Honorable Speaker, I rise to move for consideration and approval of this August Assembly the report of the Public Appointments Standing Committee on the confirmation of appointment of Mr. Bakari Sanyang as Ombudsman. In accordance with Section 164(1) of the 1997 Constitution, the President is mandated to appoint an ombudsman in consultation with the Public Service Commission, subject to confirmation by the National Assembly. Honorable Speaker, the motion for the confirmation of appointment of Mr. Bakar Sanyang as Ombudsman, in accordance with the Constitution, was tabled by Her Excellency the Vice President on Monday, 6 April 2020. Honorable Speaker, it was a fact that Mr. Bakar Sanyang is the second nominee by the President for the position of Ombudsman after the rejection of the earlier nominee in December 2019 by the National Assembly. Therefore, the proviso under Section 164(1) of the 1997 Constitution limits the Assembly from rejecting the second nominee for the Ombudsman, subject to full compliance to the provisions of the Constitution. However, the motion tabled by Her Excellency the Vice President confirmed that Mr. Sanyang was still, at the time, serving as in public office as Governor for West Coast Region. Honorable Speaker, Section 164(4) provides that a person shall not be qualified to hold office of an ombudsman or deputy ombudsman if he or she is a member of the National Assembly, a minister, or holds any other public office. Based on the above section of the Constitution, the motion to confirm the appointment of Mr. Bakar Sanyang was referred to Public Appointments Standing Committee as per Standing Order 114 for scrutiny and advice. Furthermore, Standing Order 1142 mandates the Public Appointments Standing Committee to consider and advise or report upon all appointments to a public office to be made by the Executive, subject to confirmation of the National Assembly and any other matter connected therewith. Accordingly, the committee met on Thursday, 14th May 2020, to consider and scrutinize the motion as was referred to it by the plenary. The methodology used. The committee thoroughly scrutinized the credentials of Mr. Bakar Sanyang. In reviewing the credentials of Mr. Sanyang, the committee took cognizance of the statutory requirements as provided for under Section 164 of the 1997 Constitution. The committee also note of the handing over notes or letter reference WA 14/42/0137 of Mr. Bakar Sanyang to confirm that he is no more holding any public office. Resolution. The Public Appointment Standing Committee, A, having regard to the need for persons exercising the functions of Ombudsman to have substantial administrative or professional experience. B, taking note of the motion tabled by Her Excellency the Vice President of the Republic regarding the confirmation of appointment of Mr. Bakar Sanyang. C, whereas Mr. Bakar Sanyang can be confirmed to have ceased to hold any public office as evident in his handing over notes reference WA 14/42/0137. D, whereas the person appointed ombudsman should demonstrate utmostly impartiality and neutrality to discharge his or her duty. E, bearing in mind the ombudsman shall not be subject to the direction or control of any other person or authority. F, taking into account the requirement of the Constitution for the Assembly not to reject the second person nominated for the position of ombudsman. G, cognizant of Standing Order 1142 of the National Assembly, giving mandate to the Public Appointments Standing Committee to scrutinize and advise upon all appointments to a public office to be made by the Executive. H, guided by the relevant provisions of the Constitution and after a thorough review of Mr. Sanyang's CV, do here resolve to advise the Assembly to confirm the appointment of Mr. Bakar Sanyang as Ombudsman. Accordingly, the committee, as mandated by the standing orders, hereby submit this report. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move.
Please, seconder. Yes, Honorable Member for Jimara.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I rise to second the motion, and I think that Mr. Sanyang will fulfill the trust and confidence Gambians have on him. Thank you very much.
Now put the question. It has been moved and seconded that this Honorable Assembly do consider the report of the Public Appointments Standing Committee to confirm the appointment of Mr. Bakari Sanyang as Ombudsman in accordance with Section 164(1) of the 1997 Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those not in favor, please say no. So the ayes have it. Now, any honorable member who wishes to take part in the debate may do so by raising hands. We don't want to, there's no need to debate. Well, these are procedural matters that we have to follow.
We want the vice president to say a few words as a mover.
Well, you will all, as I said, you will all recall that it was tabled by the Honorable Her Excellency, the Vice President. So we will allow her to make a few short remarks, Your Excellency. Thank you.
Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable National Assembly members, all other protocols respectfully observed, I wish to, on behalf of His Excellency President Barrow, to express appreciation for making this great decision today to endorse the appointment of Mr. Bakari Sanyang to the office of Ombudsman. I want to say thank you for the fact that everything that was done here was to ensure that we move procedures, make sure that procedures are followed. Of course, to err is human. And whatever shortcomings that might have resulted in us reaching up to this stage is not intended. But as we move and as we are evolving as a new democracy in which we want to follow procedures, we must be patient. We must be ready to engage constructively. And it was a very constructive engagement. You can be assured of His Excellency Adama Barrow's government of still emphasizing and strengthening the democracy that we all agreed to move with, the rule of law, and to work in a transparent and professional manner in order to move this country forward. On that note, I want to say thank you for all the efforts that were done, and I want to say, please forgive us in this month of Ramadan, that we are together, that God will bless this appointment, and also it will be in the best interest of the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. May I now put the question on the report? Be it resolved that this Honorable Assembly do adopt the report of the Public Appointments Standing Committee confirming the appointment, to confirm the appointment of Mr. Bakari Sanyang as Ombudsman in accordance with Section 164, subsection 1 of the 1997 Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those not in favor, please say no. So the ayes have it. Now on the motion that was earlier tabled, be it resolved that this Honorable Assembly do confirm the appointment of Mr. Bakari Sanyang as Ombudsman in accordance with Section 164(1) of the 1997 Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia. Those in favor, please say aye. Those not in favor, please say no. So the ayes have it. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, and thank you very much, honorable members. So you can now. Clerk, can we proceed with the next item? Thank you.
Motion. Be it resolved that this August Assembly do consider and confirm the appointment of Mr. Alhaji Momodou Ndaw and Mr. Yusuf Babukar Diba as members of the Gambia Armed Forces Council in accordance with Section 1891G of the 1997 Constitution and Section 131G of the Gambia Armed Forces Act by the Honorable Minister for Defense.
You can proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that this August Assembly do consider and confirm the appointment of retired Colonel Mamadou Ndao Njai and Mr. Yusuf Adiba, former Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Defense, as members of the Armed Forces Council. Honorable Speaker, in pursuance of the 1997 Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia, Section 189, subsection 1G, and as part of the security sector reform on defense, His Excellency, the President of the Republic and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, has granted approval for the establishment of the Armed Forces Council, which shall comprise the following: the Vice President as Chairperson, the Minister of Defense, Chief of Defense Staff, and the Armed Forces Chief of Staff, Commanders of the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Defense, and 2 other persons appointed by the President, subject to confirmation by the National Assembly. Honorable Speaker, I would like to inform this August Assembly that there has never been a functional Armed Forces Council in the history of the Gambia. It is my ministry's belief that the establishment of this council with this caliber of people will significantly assist in the oversight processes and democratic civilian control of the armed forces. The roles of the armed forces are clearly stipulated in Section 189, subsection 2 and 3 of the Constitution. Retired Colonel Mamadou Ndao Njai was one of the founders of the Gambian National Army in 1984 and became its first commander of the same year. He attended several military training in the Gambia, in the United Kingdom, and in France. He has vast experience about the Gambia Armed Forces and knowledgeable on military operations. He also served as the ambassador of the Republic of the Gambia to France. Mr. Yusuf Adiba has MSc in International Agricultural Development from the University of California, Davis, MA degree in History and Political Science from the University of Botswana and Swaziland, as well as a BA in Sociology, Economics, and History from Botswana. He is a retired civil servant who has served in various ministries and capacities, including the Ministry of Defense as Permanent Secretary. He also served as Ambassador of the Republic of the Gambia to Cuba. He's a very experienced public administrator, planning and management. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable Member for Bassett, want to say something?
For second minute, indeed. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. I rise to second
observation.
I don't raise any point of observation. I was.
No, among us, the speaker should say.
You preempted me. I thought you
Exactly.
had a separate observation.
No.
Okay. Can the Honorable Member please second the motion? Yes, you can go ahead.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I rise to second the motion on the appointment of retired Colonel Mamadou Ndao Njai and Mr. Yusufa Diba as members of the Armed Forces Council. Honorable Speaker, the motion before us has referred us to the 1997 Constitution, Section 189, subsection 1G. With your permission, I want to read that section. Honorable Speaker, Armed Forces Council There shall be an Armed Forces Council which shall consist of, and I want to compare the dictate of the Constitution with the provision on the motion. The Vice President as the chairperson, the Minister of the time being responsible for defense, the Chief of Defense Staff, the Armed Forces Chief of Staff, the Commanders of the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force, the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry responsible for defense, 2 other persons appointed by the President subject to confirmation by the National Assembly. So in this regard, we can see that the motion has followed the due process of the law and it is constitution friendly. Honorable Speaker, it further continues on the subsection 2 that the Armed Forces Council shall advise the President on all matters of the policy relating to defense and strategy, including the role of the armed forces, defense, budgetary and finance, administration, and any other matter which the President may refer to the Council. So, Honorable Speaker, if anybody has to do that, the first thing that we need to question whether you have the capacity, the skill, and the experience. And I think the paper before us, the way these 2 people were described, is enough to convince us that these people are people of experience, they are people of skills, and they are people of knowledge. So we don't have any doubt that if they are given this post of responsibility, they live to expectation. On that note, I want to support the motion and call on my honorable colleagues to give their blessing to this motion. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I beg to resume my seat.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I now put the question. It has been moved and seconded that this Honorable Assembly do consider and confirm the appointment of Mr. Alhaji Mamadou Ndaw and Mr. Yusuf Abubakar Diba as members of the Gambia Armed Forces Council in accordance with Section 189, subsection 1G of the 1997 Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia and Section 13, subsection 1G of the Gambia Armed Forces Act. Those in favor, please say aye. Those not in favor, please say no. So the ayes have it. Thank you. Now, any honorable member who wishes to take part in the debate may do so by raising his or her tag. Actually, Kantora was the first one that caught my eye, and then Jara is there.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the floor. I equally want to thank the member for Basse for seconding motion and being very brief. As alluded by the mover, the transitional government has mandates, and such mandates are prescribed. Among the mandates, there's a promise to usher this country into another new dispensation whereby the issue of security sector reform would be conducted, and many other mandates given to the coalition government. There is an outcry about this issue of security sector reform. It's long overdue, and I want to tell the minister that it's a right move in the right direction. There is a need for the establishment of this particular council in order to enable to expedite the security sector reform. And of course, the 2 persons in question, we could not agree with you more that they are qualified and they fit for this position. Going by the 1997 Constitution, Section 189, 2A, B, and C. Looking at their qualification, they should serve as policy advisors of government or to the president in issues relating defense and strategy, which a Doyen who served in the First Republic and also served as a custodian. Founding members in 1984 and become a commander of the Gambia Armed Forces with a vast experience in military and intelligence. The second person in question, of course, the job also requires technocrats to advise government, issue of policies, issue of administration, and even issues of promotion of men in uniforms in the ranks of lieutenants, colonels, its equivalent. So there is no doubt that the two persons in question are definitely the right people, and they are also the right persons in the right positions. I am convinced that they're not around a peg in a square hole. And without wasting much of the time of assembly, this should not take much debate. Going by the qualification, going by the experience, wealth of experience, assembly should not label to approve this confirmation. And if you permit me, I want to move a motion that the intervention is restricted with 3 minutes per member to expedite this process. I thank you so much for your justice.
Probably one would have tabled the motion prior to taking the floor. You spoke for more than 3 minutes, so I don't think it would be fair to. It should have been done earlier. Thank you. Yes, Honorable Member for Jara East.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the floor. I rise to drum of support for the motion earlier presented by the mover with regards to the appointment of these two refined gentlemen. Madam Speaker, going through their CVs, one is definitely impressed by virtue of its colorfulness. The CVs of this, Madam Speaker, the duo, are quite impressive and colorful. And Madam Speaker, I have no qualms with regards to their appointment to their various noble offices. Madam Speaker, what they have done for this country speaks for itself. As the old adage, has it, that action speaks louder than words. Madam Speaker, Mercedes Ndao and Diba are household names in the Gambia. Madam Speaker, Mr. Ndao has served this country with distinction. During my formative years as a child, when I was in my teen, I used to hear this gentleman's name. When he was the commander of the Gambia National Army, he served with distinction. And as a result, his name becomes a household name throughout the Gambia. I could remember very well when the Gambia Armed Forces was in its formative stages. This man was there trying to build up the fledgling army, and he did extremely well in building the army to where it is, Madam Speaker. I think it is no doubt that people who have served faithfully, diligently, their country with distinction are considered for such prestigious positions. Madam Speaker, when you come to Mr. Yusuf Diwa, he was a consummate civil servant, a patriot in his own right, and he also served diligently. And both men are deeply rooted in the Gambia. They have served faithfully. And I want to thank them for having been considered to serve the Gambian people. Madam Speaker, I just want to highlight some what I consider as anomalies. Madam Speaker, when people are asked to go to Parliament for confirmation hearing or what you call it, it is done for a reason. Madam Speaker, if you go to our standing orders 114, it says for scrutiny. And it goes without saying, there has to be an article of evidence. I have no qualms with their standing. They are gentlemen par excellence. But Madam Speaker, if we are going to consider nominees or appointees, I think if you have seen their CV, it is not enough to say, I have attended St. Augustine High School, University of Cambridge, University of London. This has to be accompanied with evidence, certificates. I could remember vividly when we were considering the first nominee for the portfolio of Ombudsman in the person of Babukar A. Sware. He presented to this August Assembly a comprehensive CV with hard copies of certificates, the schools he attended, the courses, because it will help in attesting to the certificates he claimed to have earned. These two refined gentlemen, they have done extremely well. But I have not seen, yes, they attended prestigious institutions, but I have not seen the hard copy certificates. And Parliament is about scrutiny. And we are human beings. That's why we are considered as not infallible. If you want to make an inquiry as to whether what is before us in terms of their impressive resume, the schools they claim to have attended, where do we stand? But if you have certificates, hard copies, that will serve as an article of evidence. And I believe fervently in this August Assembly, evidence must always precede decision. That's my detached opinion. That's what we are called a parliament. Evidence must always precede decision. Evidence must always precede decision. That's very key. Because that's the time we can bank on to say, yes, Mr. X or Mr. Y is well grounded in this domain because there is evidence to produce. But not to say he attended University of London, University of Cambridge. Yes, they may be prestigious universities. I have no doubt. But the critic in me is not comfortable. And I would like the mover to tell me, I know it could be an oversight, but they should have been accompanied with hard copy certificates. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Honorable Member for Serekunda. Serekunda, please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Speaker, we are not dealing with an ordinary institution. This is, in fact, the key institution for defending the sovereignty of this land. And that is precisely the reason why the Constitution has given it the focus it deserves. We are informed of the need to equip this force under Section 186, subsection 3, in order to maintain its capacity to perform the role of defense of the Gambia. Honorable Speaker, this institution, the Gambia Armed Forces, under Section 187, is given two fundamental functions. It is clear that it has a principal role to preserve and defend the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the Gambia. To aid the civil authorities at their request in emergencies. We're talking about border controls. It is clearly stipulated in the Constitution that in terms of national disaster or emergencies, they could be mobilized to serve the national interest. To engage at the request of civil authorities in productive activities such as agriculture, engineering, health, and education for the development of the Gambia, which means that they can build up an engineer corps to be building educational institutions, bridges, causeways, anything imaginable. And Honorable Speaker, armies now in the world are transformed into productive institutions that conduct research, build technology, and in many instances serve as the core facilitation of industrialization in many countries in the world today. And here the Constitution is providing for that capacity to grow to that level. Honorable Speaker, subsection 2 move into what I will call, ignore the language, civilianization of the armed forces, so that it will not just be seen as a tool, as a killing machine, but it will be seen as human beings serving a particular purpose. And then under subsection 2, they are supposed to assist in building a national youth service and provide them in training, that the same armed forces shall establish training programs for their members at all levels to equip them with skills and trades, to ensure that the programs that they develop, there can even be secondment in order to prepare them for civilian life. That they should not just be kept there and used just like they are there to carry weapons, but that we must prepare when they move out of the force. Honorable Speaker, it says under subsection C, there shall be established an army reserve. Imagine, Honorable Speaker, people who just protect, and ultimately you move out of the force, and you have nothing else to look back to, no community to belong to. The army, because it trains the person to be able to use a weapon, cannot lose control of that individual. Therefore, the army becomes a home where the person belongs to a reserve, can be called upon in times of emergency or anything to come and add force to be able to achieve aims. So that community must be made. These are fundamental objectives of the Army, Honorable Speaker. So in that sense, we are told that there is an Armed Forces Council that has been dormant. And now the objective is to activate it. We are being asked to carry out our constitutional duty under Section 189. We are very clearly informed, and we can see it in the Constitution, that there is official representation in the Armed Forces Council, but there is also unofficial representation. And the unofficial representation constitutes 2 persons who will be appointed by the President and confirmed by this National Assembly, because they do not belong to official positions in the Council. That is why scrutiny by us is important, because these are people going in to an institution as outsiders. And that's why the scrutiny is so fundamental. Honorable Speaker, we must look at what this Armed Forces Council is supposed to do. First of all, under Section 188, we are told that subject to the authority and direction of the President and of the Armed Forces Council, the Chief of Defense Staff shall be responsible for operations. So we're seeing here civilian control of the military. The President, the first civilian, but now the Armed Forces Council, with these 2 people who are unofficially are not members of the Armed Forces, are now to take part in controlling the direction of the Army and their performance. That is the relevance here. Honorable Speaker, it is clear that it is this Armed Forces Council that will advise the President on policy under subsection 2 of Section 189. Advise the President on policy. Will also advise the President on promotion. Will advise the President also in terms of performance in making regulations. They will be making regulations. This is not an ordinary institution. And the regulations will assist in terms of control and administration of the armed forces, the issue of ranks and their promotion, conditions of service, the authority and powers of the commanders, the powers that must also be utilized to establish research and development in terms of the service itself. So essentially, and if you go to 190, section 190, in fact, this is where their powers become more crucial and fundamental for reshaping the armed forces and ensuring that whatever the president does is done in line with the interests of the country, not out of his own volition. Honorable Speaker, section 190 says that the president shall, after consulting the National Security Council, after consulting the National Security Council, it's mandatory for him to do so, appoint the Chief of Defense Staff, the Armed Forces Chief of Staff, and the commanders of the army, etc. And if you look at subsection 2, subsection 3, the president may, after consulting the National Security Council, remove. There we can see that the president has absolute authority to do the removal, but here it is a may, and the may is after consulting the National Security Council. So in this sense, we can see that the appointment is where the council must ensure that the right people are appointed. And here, the may in the removal, they may be consulted, they may not be consulted. But essentially it is there that the president should at all times endeavor to do that consultation before removing the Armed Forces Council. So, or the people who are appointed. So in that respect, it gives the opportunity for element of scrutiny to know that what is being done is in the national interest. Honorable Speaker, I must therefore emphasize that those people who are to be appointed must be skilled in knowing the armed forces, in knowing how to facilitate its development in the areas that have already been mentioned. But they must also go further into issues of administration, issue of promotion, service rules. So we are talking about two dimensions here: operational issues and also management issues. And the two people brought before us are said to be competent on command and control issues of the armed forces, and we've seen their history. We've also been told that another person is experienced in management, to have gone to the level of even being a director as far as running the Management Development Institute. So you cannot go any further in terms of management, in terms of policy, in terms of planning, in terms of programming. So the competence is there. But as the member has just said, and as consultation was being done with the member who seconded the motion, the issue is not about the competence. The issue is about consistency in how this National Assembly intend to go in order to ensure that proper scrutiny is done and proper advice is received by the National Assembly in order to be able to make our decision. So ultimately, Honorable Speaker, it is my mind that we should give justice to why Section 114 of the Constitution is actually established. And if we all agree with that, then maybe ultimately a motion will be made to that effect. Honorable Speaker, Standing Order 114 says that the Public Appointment Committee shall consist of the chairperson, etc., but that it shall be the duty under paragraph 2 of the Public Appointment Committee to scrutinize, consider, and advise upon all appointments to a public office to be made by the executive and subject to the confirmation of the National Assembly. And so if that is our language, our wish, well, I believe I don't need to express my mind in that regard, but it's left to the members who may ultimately consider whether in this instance, because of COVID-19, we may wish to alter our mind, but essentially the mind must be spoken for us to consider. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member for Woolly West. Yes, you are on the list. Is it? Yes.
Well, is that a motion you make or what? Okay. I'm going to be very brief. I'm delighted because first, I know these individuals very well. Now, when he was going to school here, Gambia High School, I was teaching in Bakau. Our homes were pretty close. And my home was a point of convergence for students and others like them. And when he finished Gambia High School, he joined the Gambia Field Force. We still continued. My home was also a place of convergence. I know him very well. He's a very dignified person, a sober-minded person, an independent-minded person, intellectually very rewarding. And he is just the type of person that this council would need for its operations, particularly with the military experiences that he has. I have no doubt about him at all. I know him very, very well. For years, I've known him since he was going to school up to the time. I would say that I was also a mentor to him. I mentored him. So I know what type of person he is. His academic qualifications are not in doubt. They are indicated here, but I agree 100% with the Honorable Member for Jara East. The National Assembly makes decisions based on facts, not just like that. So for people like them, we need to be adequately informed because maybe there are many who are applying. There are many who want to be. So what is going to determine eventually is what their achievements are in terms of education, in terms of experience. So it is important that we are always armed factually to be able to make a decision here, which is a decision made here should be unshakable. And it can only be unshakable if it is based on facts, concrete facts. With regard to Yusfa, same. I know him very well too. Even before he became a lecturer at the college, I knew him. When he was a lecturer at the college, I knew him. When he became a civil, I knew him. And it's delightful to discuss with him. He's a person of huge intellectual resource. And I have no doubt that he would be very, very useful on the council for which he is being considered. I thank you very much, Madam.
Thank you.
Observation, ma. Point of observation. Oh, observation, please.
You should have raised your tag while he was on his feet to make your observation.
Yeah. Now, what I'm saying is that it seems that the minds are really on bringing evidence base, and I also want to observe that this, if it's going to be referred to the two committees, Security and Defense and the Public Appointment Committee, to sit together to go through it and then report.
No, Madam Speaker, observation.
You've had your say. Let's allow others.
Exactly.
If anybody wants to move a formal motion, the choice is yours. Honorable Member for Lower Nyomi. Thank you. Honorable members to make use of that.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for giving me the floor. I would wish to reiterate the points that were raised by the member for Serekunda in reference to Section 187. I had on many occasions stood here to cry over the exclusion of the armed forces not being engaged by the government in the production of agricultural needs for the nation. I hope the council would have the vision to help in that direction, given the fact that we are importing rice almost every year to an astounding amount of money. If this amount could be, our most common word would be vied to the armed forces, I'm sure they will be able to produce a lot of rice for the people, build roads. We start engaging the army. Let's not put them in air-conditioned rooms. Let's put them under the sun so that we start benefiting from the expertise of people like Yusuf Diba, Ndao Njai, and others. Let's challenge them. It is under the purview of the armed forces to train the National Youth Service, get them co-opted and then train so that it would be a wider force, because at this present moment, a good number of the armed forces are discouraged, frustrated. Either they have spent a long time without promotion, or lack of consideration and They've been working under very hard conditions, which they have not seen any light at the end of the tunnel for the benefit of themselves and the nation. Let's start thinking otherwise. From holding guns to holding hose, from running trucks to running machines that would give us something that would be beneficial to the nation. Armed Forces Council, okay. We establish an Armed Forces Council, and that's the end. It should not be the end. As highlighted by the member of Serakunda, based on the provisions of Section 187, 186, they could go beyond that. Let anybody who is enlisted in the army tomorrow understand that you are not going to be in Bakau, you are not going to be in Yundum, but you will be up country there, helping to feed the people of the Gambia, rather than crisscrossing. Madam Speaker, that's my mind. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Member for...
I have a motion, Honorable Speaker, to make.
Yeah. Under what section are you coming? Or
Yes.
What provision?
Yes, clause 53C of the standing order. Honorable Speaker, we are not doubting the experience that these individuals have, but actually we want to perform or have documents about what the Honorable Minister is actually telling us about these two individuals. As a result of that, I want to move a motion that under clause 53C, the debate be adjourned and the motion be referred to the relevant committee, that's Security and Defense Committee, to better scrutinize and request the Public Appointment Committee, to request the documents that are stipulated in the motion given by the minister and better scrutinize and inform this honorable assembly. Thank you.
There's a motion on the floor. Any seconder? Yes, Honorable Member for Upper Fuladu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to second the motion.
Moved and seconded that the debate be suspended and the motion be referred to the Public Appointments Committee for scrutiny and for them to report back to plenary. Those in favor, please say aye. Those not in favor, please say no.
No. Division.
No, I will take a chance.
Division.
Let us take the votes properly. Those in favor, please, can you raise your tag so that we take the count? Or let me take another voice vote. Right? Okay. Those in favor, the motion is for the debate to be suspended. To be suspended and the matter, the motion referred to the Public Appointments Committee for them to report back to plenary. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those not in favor, please say no.
No.
Well, as I said, I don't want to take a chance. Let me take the vote. I'm being asked whether I can join, but some people can shout and others cannot shout. So it's safer. Let's take a vote, please. Thank you. I don't think there's any harm. Those in favor, just raise your constituency tags. Those in favor. We take from this side and from that side. No, Honorable, with all due respect, we've already announced the votes. I mean, to take the votes. The noes, please. Those not in favor? Those not in favor? Yes, of course, you have a right. Good. Thank you. The results are as follows. The ayes 27, the noes 7. So the ayes have it. The motion is carried and the debate is hereby suspended, and the motion referred to the Public Appointments Committee for scrutiny. But in the meantime, please, Honorable Minister, can we have the relevant documents to the Office of the Clerk? So that, thank you. Yes, you are released, please. Thank you. Thank you very much. Honorable members, you must have observed that as per our agenda, we were to consider 2 other items. But as of now, we still have not received anything from the Office of the Clerk. Has not received any documents for circulation to honorable members from the Ministry of Finance. And based on that fact, I would suggest that we adjourn this extraordinary session sine die, considering the fact that the next ordinary session is in June 15, and that FPAC will continue with the consultations and engagement of Ministry of Finance. I would therefore suggest that we adjourn the session sine die and allow the FPAC to proceed accordingly with finance. It was just by way of your information. And that, may I now put the question? Sorry, Honorable, please, can we have one meeting, please, 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 please? Central body, but please, can we have one meeting? Thank you. And on that note, I put the question, be it resolved that this August Assembly do stand adjourned sine die. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those not in favor, please say no. So the ayes have it. The Assembly now stands adjourned sine die. I thank you very much for your cooperation and understanding. Thank you. Please, can we, honorable members, please, can we have the FPAC members briefly? FPAC, yes. Committee room number 1, please, FPAC. Thank you.
paw bi jeex na depuis démba xettali ma rek ni jaay nga jëndal ma kaas paw balaa yére yi di wow dama passé
fii amoo fi benn xaalis laa amut waaw may ma tuuti waaw Mamadou waaw ma ne dimbale ñu rek nga yónnee ñu cash power léegi suñ cash power moo jeex depuis démb ok baax na.
waaye yow nijaay jaaxle naa de yow Mamadou naka lam ñoo jëndalee cash power te fekk mu ngi bitim réew nijaay.
xanaa xamuloo ne ak balu waaye mën a nekk ci bitim réew mun naa yónnee njabootam cash power ni ngay def yomb na da ngay log on to www.baluwo.com nga jëndee courant ci compagnie yi nga xam ne ñoo saytu wàllu courant ci dëkk yu mel ni Gambia Sénégal Mali Nigeria ak Sierra Leone.
All over the world, healthcare workers are in the front line of the fight against COVID-19. Here in the Gambia, they can be found in hospital wards taking care of patients, at hospital hallways cleaning away germs, at press conferences providing information to journalists, in the streets tracing people who came into contact with those who have tested positive for coronavirus. All of these people are soldiers fighting coronavirus on our behalf. The Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry recognizes this sacrifice and is therefore urging all of us to pay tribute to these medical workers by stopping whatever we are doing every 6 p.m. to clap for these frontline soldiers